Welcome to your Taurus horoscopes for the week ending the 18th of May. Officially, it's Mother's Day week. We're kicking off the week with Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all the mommies out there. Hope you have wonderful celebrations. And if somebody doesn't have one planned for you, then I hope you're throwing yourself a celebration, at least treating yourself. It's definitely better than being angry that your kids aren't there because there's millions of circumstances why that happens. We've got a pretty good week this week. We do have a little bit of challenge because the moon is moving into a square pretty early on in the week with the sun, Jupiter, and Uranus, which continue to be in Taurus. We also have Venus in Taurus, which is really not playing into this challenge right now, which is good. And by Wednesday, we will also have Mercury in Taurus. So there's a huge party of planets going on in Taurus right now. But it's actually pretty good news for the most part. Now, let's first look at this little mini challenge that the moon is creating on Tuesday here. The moon's focus really is on triggers, specifically personal triggers, very deep personal triggers. And this is going to be bringing up some issues for you, which unfortunately get in the way of you being able to focus on your career. Now, actually, I did speak to a Taurus this week who had something similar come up in the last couple of weeks. And so I would assume that something like this would amplify that for her specifically. But these kinds of challenges, a lot of times it's nothing more than a parent that you have issues with bringing those issues up again, or dealing with a relationship which you normally try to avoid, and you can't avoid it right now. And so consequently, those things kind of come up. And every time something like that comes up, it disrupts everything around you. And when you're uber focused on your career goals, and with all the planets really being focused on that right now, it's really hard to put all your focus into that because you're constantly emotionally challenged by this personal situation. So my advice for that is, luckily this is only happening for about a day. My advice for that is two things. One, it's really a lot of people have a tendency to try and focus their energy on something else to forget about their problems. What happens is your problems follow you into that thing that you're trying to focus on, and so you're not giving it your proper focus. My advice is to take the time to deal with the problem. If you can't deal with the person, then at least deal with you and what's going on with you. Take the time to meditate about it. Take the time to be angry about it. Give yourself a time limit, 10 minutes of anger. Write a little letter to them about how angry you are. Just sit there quietly in your room by yourself and sort of spew out the angry words towards this person so that you can let it out. Give yourself a voice and let it out. Because in many cases, we're not able to do this to the person specifically. And even if we did, it wouldn't help. It would just cause an argument. So this way, at least you can get it out and be able to be a little bit clearer and freer and ready to get back to business, so to speak. So again, just a little bit of a challenge there for that day. Now, I said that Mercury is coming in on Wednesday, and Mercury is coming into your sign in a square with Pluto. And Mercury is really focused on long-term goals as it's coming in. So, and by the time we get to the end of the week, it's right there on the cusp of your career as well. So we're really looking at long-term career goals. Now, Pluto's focus is on your day-to-day schedule, and Pluto is retrograde. So it kind of does have a feeling that you just don't have time to focus on those long-term goals. You only have the energy or the time to focus on what you're dealing with currently right now, which is really frustrating because you want to be able to deal with everything. Here's the deal, though, okay? It's not saying you can't focus on your long-term career goals. It's not saying that you can't focus on the next step. But what we are looking at is the bigger picture here. So if there is something that's going on in your current work situation that will not leave you be, focus your energy on that. Make sure that that's taken care of before you try and focus on your long-term career goals, right? You got to take care of now before you can look at what's to come. Now, the reason that this is really important is that Uranus, Jupiter, the Sun, even Venus to a certain extent, all of these planets are in a grand sextile with Pluto, as well as Neptune. Neptune is focused on finances. Pluto, again, focused on your day-to-day schedule. So really, there's a lot going on in terms of what you're doing currently in terms of your career. And that's why you just don't have time to focus on the long term here, because right now everything is coming together financially, professionally. All of your time is being taken up with what you're doing right now, which is really important because you want to make sure that you have the finances set aside to reach that long term, right? So yes, you may be distracted, and yes, you may have ideas and things that you want to commit to. Write them down. Make sure that you kind of, make yourself a note and focus on what you need to focus on now so that you can focus, you can be free to focus on that later. As we get towards the end of the week, the moon comes back into play here as it on Friday moves into a trine with the Sun and Venus and Uranus, and in some cases Jupiter, moves into a grand trine with those planets as it also moves into a trine with Pluto at the same time. Again, tremendous amounts of energy towards your career goals right now, specifically your current career goals. Now, the moon's position is in the past. It's really focused on the past, bringing up ideas of things that you've done in the past that might be helpful now, as in order to streamline things. I know a good example of this to me is I just recently started running an office that never had an office manager. So everything that I've ever done in various different offices in the past, though I'm using those systems while also bringing them to now. Because, of course, I used those systems like 20 years ago. Some of them are a little outdated. So you have to bring them up to what we're doing now technologically. But basically, in terms of getting things together and the organization process, a lot of what you've done before is still going to be really helpful. So the moon's just basically coming in, bringing up some of those ideas, freshening things up a little bit so that you can continue to move forward in the career goals that you have established now. I also think that a lot of this as a whole is just a reminder. A lot of times we get bored with what we're doing. We want to move on to the next thing. And the problem with that is that if we don't follow through and complete our goals, we never finish anything. And when we never finish anything, we never quite um we never quite completely get what we can get out of each one of these goals. So this is just a reminder. This was a goal. I know it may not be now, but you need to focus on it now because it makes all of your future goals better if you finish this one out. So it's a lot, but that's what I have for you guys this week. I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. I will see you guys next week. And in the meantime, enjoy your Mother's Day. Enjoy the last week of Taurus season. Taurus season ends next week. Can you believe it? It's crazy. Jupiter's also looking to be leaving here in the next few weeks as well. So enjoy all, I mean, all of this energy, 5 planets all working together towards those career goals for you guys. Utilize that, get as far as you can, make it a great week. And I will see you guys next week.